Hello everybody. I wanted to do a video today on my spiritual awakening, and I've actually wanted to do the video for some time, but thinking about doing the video, it was just very hard to pinpoint a starting point. So after giving it some thought, I finally found a place where I would like to start. So here we go. So the day was September 21st, 2020. I was laying on the couch in the middle of the day, maybe in the morning, I'm not sure. I was laying on the couch in my garage. I love to hang out in the garage and smoke. I had just finished my medical marijuana, finished smoking, and I was laying down just like meditating, and it was the only way I can describe it. Now I know what it is. At the time I didn't know what was happening. So I was laying there, my eyes were closed, I finished smoking, I was meditating, and I just felt like this weird feeling, and it just like went up my spine, and I just was like, what? And I just sat up, and I just was like looking around. I didn't know, it was just this weird feeling, and it made me sit up. So I sat up, and then I just like looked around. I was looking around, and I just like felt different or weird, different, I'm not sure. Either way, yeah, it's just this weird feeling that went up my spine. And I sat up, I looked around, and the first thing that I saw was I had a business prior to that, and I lost the business due to COVID, and I had some of my stuff left over from the business. It was like a trucking business, so I had some straps that you use to tie down the loads, and on the strap there was 4 numbers, and it said 3333, and I was like, what? And then it was just from that time on, it was just like all of a sudden I just like knew, and then I was different. And it was so weird. I was listening to a YouTube video, maybe like a tarot reading or something, but it was weird because it was a tarot reader that I had just started listening to tarot videos on YouTube, and the tarot reader was somebody that I had been listening to for a couple of months. But at that particular moment, her voice sounded like a counselor that I had. It's so weird talking about this because some of it makes sense and some of it doesn't. Either way, I'm sharing because, you know, maybe somebody else can relate. But yeah, her voice was different. She did not sound like her normal voice. She sounded like this counselor that I had, and it was so weird. It was just like, oh my gosh. Then I had like this rush of thoughts, like, oh, I think thoughts, I'm not sure. It was just like all these things just started. It was just like these events or something just started like lining up in a sequence, and then all of a sudden it was just like, yeah. And I didn't know what the yeah was, but it was just like, yeah. And so I reached out to this counselor and was just like, hey, like, I know I haven't spoken to you in a long time, and it's kind of weird, but I just wanted to like thank you for, you know, like all the counseling, you know, that you did with me. And that was very significant, but now it makes sense. I didn't know why I reached out to her at that time, because the counseling that she had with me at that time, I was really going through like maybe a dark night of the soul. I'm not sure what it was. I don't know what that was at that time, but I was struggling in my life. I was in this relationship that I should not have been in, and I was struggling to get out of it because my business was attached to the relationship. And I just had so many different things going on in my life, and she really helped me. This woman really, really helped me. And I remember going to her, and at the time in the counseling, just saying like, maybe this is like a spiritual thing or a spiritual battle or something, because it felt like it. It felt like it. at the time, all that stuff I was going through, I was praying a lot. I used to I had a home that I had just built. And it was supposed to be my forever home, and I had this ginormous closet. So I would frequently go into this closet, and I had a yoga mat, and I would go in there. I would turn the lights off, and I would just get on my face. Stretch my hands out, and I would just pray to God, just like, what is happening? Like, I was going over all these bad things that I did in my life. Like, am I a good person? Like, what is the purpose of life? What am I? And she really helped me. She really, really, really helped me. And so it makes sense that I reached out to her. But after that time, I started seeing like angel numbers, like everywhere, all the time. And it was just like, oh my gosh, what does it mean? And so I started, like everybody else, getting on Google, looking up what 333 meant and what 1111. I started seeing them all everywhere, on the clock, on the license plates, when I would go to the store, and on a receipt. And I had a person that I was communicating with, a person that I called a friend at that time, who was also doing the same thing. And she would send me like a copy of her receipt, and it would say like 1111 or something. And so it was crazy at that time, because I just did not know what was happening to me, and it was only happening to that one other person that I knew. And her and I had some like spiritual stuff happen to us before, when we had lived together, but back at that time when I was seeing that counselor and stuff. And so I don't know, things just kind of started to make sense, where I just started putting things together. And I learned at that time that I always have been a spiritual person. I've always been really connected to God. And it brought me back to I think the very first time where I knew that like God was real. My mom would remind me of this story where I was like maybe 5 years old, and she had a car, and the car was very old, or it had maybe like a hole in it, and it wouldn't start. It was just, but hey, she was a single mother, or no, she wasn't a single mother. No, I don't know. I don't remember, but the car was important because she needed it. It was her only means of transportation to get us around or whatever. And so on one particular day, we were in the car, and she was trying to get it to start, and she was just like, come on, Tasha, we got to pray, pray to God. And I remember praying as hard as I could. I was a little bitty old girl, and I'm praying, please God, let my mom's car start, please let my mom's car start. And boy, that car started, and I was like, boy, my mind was blown. I was like, God is real. And so I've always believed in God. But in that day and the days after that and the months after that, God just really started connecting the dots, and I just had so many experiences. My background is in mental health. I was in the Navy, and I was a behavioral health technician. And so I worked with the severely mental ill patients that had schizophrenia, bipolar, mania, the severely mental ill in the military. That's what I worked with. And I did that for 18 years. And so I had, extensive knowledge in mental health. So it made the spiritual journey, or the spiritual awakening, interesting in the sense that some of the things that I started to experience ran parallel to mental health conditions. I noticed that for me, I was very in tune to the moon cycles, and when the full moon would come, I would just start getting these images and these thoughts about things, and then they would happen, and I could sometimes like know what people were like thinking, or it's kind of hard to explain, but unless you've had those experiences, then I'm learning how to speak eloquently in this spiritual awakening. So I'm just being a regular person talking about my experience on this spiritual awakening, but so I'm sure somebody can find the words to describe this better than I can. But it was challenging, because at that time I was in counseling and trying to share these spiritual experiences that I was having with counselors who were, they were African American, but they were religious. And so like sharing that, like I would get a vision of something happening and then it happened, you know, people don't believe that. And then, you know, when you start saying that you know what a person is thinking, or you know, you start saying that, people start thinking that, you know, you're having psychosis. And so I had to start being very careful about what I was saying. And it then turned into a very personal journey where I just kept a lot of things to myself because people, you know, couldn't understand. And so I really delved into YouTube, good old YouTube University, to connect with other people that were experiencing what I was experiencing. And that's just kind of how I learned and got to the point I'm at today. So it's been 3 years, almost 3 years, since July 2023. So, you know, coming up on 3 years of that major spiritual awakening, where when they say like the veil was lifted, and you know, you know, once you see, you can't unsee. It's so true. And I'm just such a different person now, you know, because of that. And it's been a journey. It has definitely been a journey of learning my spiritual self, you know, stepping away from Christianity, and it's been a journey. That's all I can say. But definitely had that, and so now I've learned that experience, that feeling that went up my spine, was a Kundalini awakening. And it's happened even since then. There was a YouTuber that I love, her channel. I listen to it pretty much. If she puts a video out, I'm gonna listen to it. Reiki Rachel, she does distant Reiki, and she always does you know, full moon Reikis, and she does twin flame stuff. And so I was listening to one of her twin flame Reiki meditations with my husband, who's my twin flame, and we were laying there doing it together, and we both had a Kundalini. It was funny because I just set up because I had already experienced the feeling, and so when I felt it, like you'll feel it, it's like starts at the bottom, and then you'll feel it build, and then it shoots right up. And so when I felt it, it feels like a little like tingly, I don't know, and then, you know, it just like shoots up. And so I just kind of set up when I felt it. He jumped up out of the bed, and he was looking around, and I chuckled a little bit because I knew what it was. And so yeah, so definitely have had that experience before. And I don't know, you know, I'm not like an expert. I'm just talking about my experience. So, you know, if that happens like once or twice, or does it keep happening, or what? But definitely happened to me two definite times that I can recall. And all of that makes sense to me now, because when I go back and I do the timeline of events, I met my husband, and instantly knew that he was the person that I was supposed to marry. Like I had, during this time with this counselor and in this relationship, you know, praying to God, like I had this specific prayer. I prayed for this man. I knew that this relationship I was in I was not supposed to be in it. It was unhealthy. It was, I just was not supposed to be in it, and I knew that I deserved better. And so I said this specific prayer to God. He sent me this man. I met him. I knew instantly that was him. We got together and married very quickly. And when I do the sequence, it makes sense. If I met him in May of 2020, and then in August of 2020, my daughter wanted to get a tarot reading, so we went in and got a tarot reading. And then so August 2020, September 17th, my cousin put a post on her Facebook page. Wow, that's crazy. I just saw 1441 and 144 on the clock. That number has been following me on the timer. September 17th, my cousin put a post up on her Facebook talking, she was talking about all these celebrities or all these people talking about a twin flame and they blah, 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 blah. But she said twin flame. And when I saw it, that term just stood out to me. And I was like, twin flame, what is that? So I think I sent her a message and asked her, you know, like twin flame, you know, what is that? And she maybe sent me a article or something. And when I read it, I just was like, oh my gosh, like my husband, he's my twin, like we're twin flames, like wow. And it was just like mind blowing. Like all these things made sense. It made sense why I met him, and like I knew he was the person I was supposed to be with. Like I knew we were supposed to get married, and like all these things. And so I did a bunch of research, and then I sent you know, my husband, we weren't married at that time, but I sent him a message, said, hey, have you heard of this term twin flame? Because he knows more about, at that time he knew more about spirituality than I did. I was just like a Christian, and in the Navy I knew, like, talk about programming, straight program. If it was the Navy, that's the program I was in. Christian, that's the program I was in. I didn't know anything else outside of that. And so I asked him, hey, have you know about this, have you heard about this term twin flame? And he said, no. And I said, well, you know, look it up. And so he was looking it up. I was looking it up at the same time. And we both were just like, yes, like this is it. Like, yes. And so that was September 17th. And then September 21st, the Kundalini awakening, spiritual awakening, started seeing angel numbers. And yeah, my life hasn't been the same since then. And so definitely we'll be making more videos, just kind of sharing, you know, my experiences on this spiritual journey, and you know, like meeting my twin flame, what that is like, just kind of like my what I do, like my daily, like, you know, what is my, you know, my spiritual practices, and just, you know, some more about myself. So yeah, crazy. It's so crazy. It's crazy to me because, like I said, like I was really just like living life. I was in the Navy, retired from the Navy, and then I was just like a mom with the young child in school, and so I was just like a PTA mom and just kind of hanging out. And then all of a sudden, boom, like COVID happened, and then my life was different. Like I don't know. So, and now I'm like all spiritual and meditating and sleep on the beach on the full moon, you know, I don't know, love tarot cards. So yeah, that's it, spiritual awakening. So look for more videos, and like let me know like what your experiences are. Did anybody else I know a lot of people have, so like tell me, what is your experience? What did you have a Kundalini? Did you, because like for me, I know that I had the Kundalini awakening after meeting my twin flame, but it's more than that. It's more than meeting him. I had to acknowledge that he was my twin flame, because then like, okay, so if you do the math, September 17th and then September 21st, so just a couple days later. So after I came across the term, did some research on it, and then accepted it into my now reality, boom, Kundalini. So yeah, tell me what your experiences are. I look forward to hearing from you guys and sharing with you guys.